What's going on, my fellow Farmall brothers and sisters? Alright, so unfortunately I haven't had a chance to make it video all week. We had a family member pass away, somebody I was very close to. So today I'm coming out here, do some work on the 300 and show you a little boo-boo that I made on the Farmall Cub that I didn't say in the last video. I called it at the end of the night. Kind of sucked, but anyway, I got it fixed. I got the right parts ordered, so stay tuned and then kind of show you what's going on. Okay, so today what I'm going to do is I tore apart the carburetor on the Farmall 300 because I got to get that thing rebuilt and repainted and get it back on so I can continue working on the 300. So this past Sunday, actually a few weeks ago, my father-in-law got diagnosed with lymphoma cancer, and you know, they said it was treatable, stage 4, but it was treatable and everything was supposed to be okay. Well, his calcium levels shot through the roof, and as you know, we've learned through reading about cancer and stuff, it you know, that calcium level can be terminal if you don't get it under control. Well, it seems like, I'm guessing, that probably stayed high for a little too long before it was called at the hospital. He actually was able, you know, last Thursday, not this past Thursday, Thursday before last, after he went through a lot of hard times in the hospital and the diagnosis and everything, and this was only 2 weeks after being diagnosed with this. He finally got off oxygen. He was able to sit into a chair, and it seemed like everything was going good. And then unfortunately, between Friday and Saturday, he developed pneumonia. And then they end up saying that it turned into leukemia. So it got into his bone marrow. And with him being so weak from really not eating, and from him, sorry, just trying to keep it together for my video here. He, let's just say he just didn't do so well, and he was in too weak a condition to get any of the treatments for the leukemia because of the pneumonia, and from not eating, he couldn't handle it. They called us in on Saturday night, all the family, to see him because he might not make it through the night. And at first they thought, maybe they jumped the gun, maybe he's okay. He passed away 7:30 Sunday morning. So he was, you know, I consider him like my second dad. You know, he was one of those types where you did it Tom's way, you did it no way. But for the most part through the years, you know, he took my advice, I took his advice. Sometimes I wanted to strangle him. Sometimes I'm sure he wanted to strangle me. But you know what? That's family. I can live with that, and I can deal with that. But you know, those times when those family members drive you nuts and you think it's bad and then they're gone, that's worse. So you know what? They may drive you nuts. Love them anyway. So anyway, so Tom, this is to you. Unfortunately, I don't have my Coors Light out here to drink, to crack the top and, you know, have a beer with you. Just can't believe he's gone. It's you know, we're all still trying to cope. My wife's still trying to cope. My mother-in-law. It just doesn't feel real still. So, but unfortunately, you know, we got to keep pushing through, and life still goes on for everybody. And, you know, I'm trying to, you know, help look after my mother-in-law and, you know, support my wife and, you know, the kids and everybody. So we're doing everything we can do. But, you know, cancer sucks. Cancer for freaking sucks. You know, I wish some of these politicians and these pharmaceutical companies don't get their head out of their asses and stop jerking us all around with all this cancer everybody's been getting lately, and actually start helping people instead of worry about making that goddamn dollar off of all the treatments. I'm trying not to get irritated and pissed off about it, but I'm sure a lot of you out there relate, and I'm sure a lot of you probably have either had family members or yourselves gone through cancer or lost people with cancer, and I'm sure you agree that it's kind of like enough's enough with these goddamn companies, you know? Never heard a single politician, for the most part, ever getting cancer and dying. Have you? Kind of odd, isn't it? I wish they would stop screwing with our lives. So anyway, so let me go ahead and get my mind out of this This has been a rough week, but I'm going to go ahead and spin around and kind of show what I did to the Cub, what I screwed up on the Cub. And then we're going to go inside and I'm going to start working on that carburetor. I'm going to Cerakote it. We're probably going to Cerakote it an Elite black, which is going to be a shiny black. But obviously the Cerakote holds up very well to chemicals and gas and all that stuff, so it's not going to eat the paint off. I'm going to attach some some pictures on here before I get into that, so you guys can see what I did to take it apart and see what I did as far as getting the bushings out, you know, for the throttle shafts and everything. How I threaded, tapped it with a 5/16 tap, made the little quick puller out of a shock spacer, nut and a bolt, tapped it, pull those bushings right out, very easy. So I'm going to put the pictures on first. I already got it stripped apart. It wasn't that bad inside, it was just super gummy. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and sandblast it, and then we're going to get it ready for Cerakote, and we're going to spray it, and then we're going to assemble it. So let me spin this camera around real fast first, show you about the Cub. Okay, so if you guys remember the last video, I did all the valves and everything, and it got late that night. It was about 10 o'clock that night, 11, somewhere in there. But I went ahead and went to try to fit the piston rings in, and when I put the piston rings in, the gap was like, whew, like way too big. It's like, okay, so did I get the wrong piston rings? So I started looking at the pistons a little closer and everything. It's like, no, everything's standard, so I'm not sure what's going on. Brain fart. I wasn't even thinking. When I went ahead and took the measurements, I was thinking standard measurements, and I wasn't paying attention, and these pistons, as you see, are 40 over. So the pop-ups are standards, and the rings that I put on there are standards. Long story short, this engine isn't getting the pop-ups. This is getting the standards again. So I went ahead and I reordered a new set of rings. So there's my 40 over rings. So the next video on the Cub, which is going to be coming up probably next week, we're going to go ahead and get the pistons on here. And then I'm going to have to fix I'm going to have to braze this crack. I should take it out and show you, because I'm getting ready to take it into the other shop now so I can start working on it. But I found a hairline crack. It starts from here and goes right on across. Now this crack matches up to the crack in the block that was brazed. So either this didn't leak, so this wasn't no big deal, or it is a big deal. Regardless, I'm going to drill a hole slightly here and slightly here to stop the crack, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to braze this head, because it may not be all the way through, but I'm not going to risk it. And then we're going to take the carburetor in. I got the right kit for that one finally, and we're going to rebuild that. So today's video, though, is going to be the carburetor on the 300. I did roll these tires out here because I wanted to see what these big 15.5s look like next to this 300. And, you know, I think they're going to look pretty good on there. That's going to be a nice size difference. But I did pressure wash this thing all down. I did that actually last Saturday before all the bad news. So I got all the grease and all the grime and all the heavy stuff and everything off of it, so you can see everything again. So anyway, so the video that's going to be coming up on this one next is going to be, once we get the carburetor on, see how well, because it starts up and it runs fine. Just as soon as you go to advance the throttle at all, it dies. It's starving of fuel. So I'm having a feeling there's something in that carburetor that's clogged. So that's why we're going to go ahead and rebuild the one on it, get it all running. And I did get the hydraulics working. So the fast hitch, as you see, it's raised up now because it was pretty much touching the ground. Now the reservoir was empty, and I'm guessing because this hose was blown, so it leaked all of its fluid out at one time. But I was able to fill it up long enough to get it to raise. The PTO works. The leveling portion, the hydraulic on the front of this works. Everything works. I just want to go ahead and get the carburetor back on it so I can actually take it for a lap around the yard, check the gears. I think from what I'm seeing, I think the clutch and the torque amplifier, I think that whole housing, I think that was replaced on this tractor one time, because there's got some chalk writings on there, and once I cleaned it, the paint colors are different. So I'm going to contact the guy I got it from, or the son, and find out, because I think this has actually been, this is a new unit. This isn't the original unit. Now I can check it against the casting numbers too, see how close it is. But I have a feeling the torque amplifier went out, and most likely they just bought a center unit and either had it rebuilt or just got to use them and put it in. I don't know what they did. But the clutch did grab just fine bringing it up here. I just want to see if it all works. So anyway, enough gabbing. I'm going to get this tire right here rolled in the other shop so it's out of my way from my Cerakoting. And then we're going to get working on this carburetor. So, be back in a sec. All right, so I'm back in here to the other shop. So, here's what I'm going to end up using. We're going to use the E-100 Blackout. It's a real nice shiny finish. It kind of looks good on the tractors. I've seen a lot of the carburetors painted black. It looks nice. I was thinking of going with like a graphite color, like a silver color. But, I don't know. I think on this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and shoot for the black carburetor. I think it should look nice. But anyway, I got this all apart. Everything for the most part didn't look bad. The Venturi, it's marginal. It's not awful. I cleaned it up. I mean, it's got some pits in it and stuff, but it's not broke. It's not all the way through. It's workable. I think it should be just fine in there. So, anyways, we're going to roll with that. But anyway, the new kit comes, I got the master kit for this carburetor. So it has everything from the choke flush to the bushings to, I mean, you name it. Everything except for the floats. So I did clean these up yesterday with a brass wire brush. I'm going to go ahead and soak these and see if any bubbles come out. And that'll tell me if there's any pinholes or anything in here from sitting. But from visual inspection, everything seemed like it was pretty good and everything cleaned up nice. You know, they were oxidized. It had a lot of, you know, the green coppery brass rust that you get all over it. You can see a little bit of remnants of it right there. So I'll probably clean the rest of it off. But for the most part, they don't seem too bad. They're not bent. They're all pretty straight. There's no dents in them. So I'm going to soak those and see if any air bubbles come out. Here is what I made up. Like I said, I'll have pictures showing it. But anyway, so I had to pull the bushings out of here and the bushing out of here. So obviously the easiest way to pull those bushings, these right here, was a 5/16 tap. I tapped the threads. I used a bolt with a spacer right here, and I put that over top, and of course the threads were protruding out, and then I screwed the bolt into the bushing, and then as you tighten the nut down, it pushes against here and it raises those brass bushings right out. So like I said, I'll attach pictures and show, but you see, brass bushing came out. Not a single mark anywhere on the carburetor. There's no prying involved. You know, and then I think this side here, I think I used the longer one. And then on the other side, I used the shorter one. Because obviously you don't want to run the nut up against anything and risk marring anything up. And they get inside these shafts, honestly. And then I'll drop the old bushing. Shock bushings work just fine for spacers. You're not putting a ton of pressure on. You're only pulling brass out. So, but as you see, they came out very nicely. And then the new ones are, and I'll throw everything inside here. Oh yeah, new ones are right there. There's new bushings. So, we'll drive those in after the carburetor's all done, cleaned up. But for the most part, everything came out good. I'm going to go ahead and sandblast inside here, clean up all the grit. I went ahead and I cleaned out all the ports, got all the holes cleared out. But once I sandblast it and acetone it once again, I'm going to spray some cleaner through it and make sure everything's out. And then once I spray it before reassembly, I'm going to go through all those again. Just make sure they're all out and all clear. So we got it pretty stripped down pretty nice. These, I didn't want to pull those screws out because they, let's just say they were a little iffy. As I was trying to turn them, I could almost feel the screw head almost wanting to break. So I didn't go any further. I mean, it's easy enough. You can pop those out. They break. You just drill. You just tap. You get the screws. But, you know, there's really not a reason to pull it off. Honestly, I'm going to clean up. I'm going to sandblast around it, clean everything up. And I'm just not in the mood to drill and tap those little things out right now and try to get those pieces out. It's not going to hurt a damn thing letting them stay in there. So, and then I cleaned up inside the shaft a little bit. So that when the inventory goes back in, cleaned up all the ports inside there. Everything came out nice. So I'm going to go ahead and sandblast this. We're going to put it in the oven. We're going to bake it so it does a gas out. So if there's any other gas contaminants or whatever, it'll burn it on out of there. And then we're going to get this thing Cerakoted and get it back on the table. And I might go ahead and do the reassembly in this video, or I might save the reassembly for the next video. I don't know. I'll let you guys know at the end. I guess I'll tell you how I feel. it's been a rough week, as I said. So, but other than that, yeah, my table's gonna be a mess. I got the other carburetor now. I got the other head up here. I got this head sitting on here. Like, this is, oh my god, my bench is such a mess. And for anybody who ordered a step from me, I apologize for the delay. Hope you understand my reasonings. But I do have all the steps all prefabbed and made up. I got them over there right now, laid out, so I can start tacking all the steps together. So I am getting all your step orders together. I did get slammed with them. So, as I always say, if anybody wants a step, hit me up. I make lefts and rights for the B's, the BNs, the A's, the B's, the C's, the 1/3. Oh, no, sorry, not the C's yet. I don't know why I said that, because I was thinking about the C's. And I am going to start mocking one up, and I am going to start building a step for the C, just not yet. Too much is going on right now. But anyway, the 100, 130, 140s, Cubs. I have I'm going to have probably about 6 extra sitting around, so if anybody wants a step, I greatly appreciate it, because these steps help fund this work. Keeps me out of trouble with the wife, and it just, you know, helps you guys out getting on your tractors, and it helps me out building the tractors. So anyways, if anybody wants a step, hit me up, 7valleysfarmalls@gmail.com. Gino over at Farmall Fanatic, he did just put a step on his tractor, his A that he got from me. So thank you, Gino, for the shout out. But anyway, so let's get to it. Let's go ahead and get this carburetor started. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go sandblast it. I'm not going to come back over here until I have them hanging in the booth, and then we're going to start shooting the Cerakote on there once I have everything taped up, and then we're going to gas it out and all that good stuff. You know what I mean. Anyway, I'll be back in a few. Alright, parts are all taped up. That way I don't get any of the Cerakote in there. Everything's plugged. And we are ready to go. These have all been gassed out. So I'm going to start mixing up the Cerakote, and then we're going to shoot it on here, put it in the oven, let it dry, and then it'll be time for assembly. Alright, they're all hung and sprayed, and they got about another 2 minutes. It's a 10-minute cure time to hang, and then we're going to put it in the oven for an hour at 300 degrees, and then these things will be done. So what we're going to do next, while I'm waiting, is I'm going to check this real quick. So I'm going to put these floats down into the acetone, hold them down, they stop moving, and I'm looking for bubbles. And I'm not seeing any bubbles. So the reason I'm doing this is because if you have a pinhole, obviously it'll start leaking bubbles, and then you're going to know if these floats are actually bad or not. Because if they start retaining gas inside of the pontoons, then they're not going to work correctly. And these actually look pretty good. I don't see any issues, and obviously they float pretty quickly. But I don't see any bubbles. I don't see anything out the fronts, backs, either side, so we're good to go. Alright, well, let me go get those parts in the oven now, and then I think I'm going to make this a two-part video. I'll do a second part assembling it, and then the second part will also show putting it on the tractor, hooking it up, and then running it. So, give me a few, and let me get these parts in. Alright, parts are in the oven. We're at 300 degrees, so I'm going to let that bake out now for an hour. And I'll be back after it's done. Alright, my friends, everything's on the table and cleaned up and ready to rock and roll. But I'm going to cut this video short this is going to be it for this video for today. We will do a second video when it comes back to putting it together, and then going ahead and putting it back on the 300 and firing her up. So all I did was, once I got it out of the oven, everything cooled, I went ahead and pulled the tape off, ran the Scotch-Brite on the angle grinder around the surfaces, as you see all through here, cleaned all that up, and of course I kept the brass tag covered so that wasn't painted, and again cleaned up all the surfaces here as well as under here. So that's pretty much it as far as at least starting the reverberation on the carburetor. It's not that bad of a job. It's pretty simple. Just take your time again and make sure you get every single little itty bitty port and crevice cleaned out. And besides cleaning it, make sure you get inside here and get all the dirt and contaminants out, because what's going to happen is you're going to make sure the holes are clear, everything's going to seem good, and then you're going to fire the tractor up for the first time. Then all the stuff that's stuck all down inside tight is going to break loose. It's going to come up and it's going to pack all your jets and close it off, and you're going to run out of fuel. So make sure you clean, re-clean, extra clean, do everything you can do to make sure you get everything cleaned out. You're going to thank yourself in the end, especially in there. Get inside there, so I can focus in there. Get inside all the little ports, clean everything very well. So anyway, so that's it for today. So thank you guys for watching once again. Make sure you hit that notification bell, like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, we're going to get this thing rebuilt, get it back on that 300, fire her up, and we're going to be leapfrogging back and forth between the 300 and the Cub again. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.